is Carol Grote, and I grew up in the Exeter area, went to school in Exeter. I came to Shickley to teach, and I was not coming to Shickley to teach. That's when they interviewed you at the school, and they told me just to go for the practice, and so I was really relaxed, was not planning to come to Shickley at all. In fact, I didn't even know where Shickley was. So anyway, but in the interview then, I got a call to come and teach, and they told me don't go to teach unless they offer you at least $3,000. And they didn't. They offered me $2,800, and I said, no, I won't go to teach for that. So they called me back and says, we'll give you $3,000. So they had to give all the other beginning teachers $3,000. So anyway, that's how I ended up here in Shickley. I came to teach. I met my husband here, and so I stayed. And that's kind of how I came. And actually, it was on the urging of my dad, because he wanted me to teach in a small school. I had opportunities to go other places, but he said, let's go to Shickley and see what it's like. And I liked it here, so that's why I stayed. And that's where I raised our family then here, so. Just that it was a very small town, probably smaller than Exeter. And although I grew up on a farm, but that's where I went to school, was in Exeter, so it was a little bit smaller than that. But just very friendly, I think, was probably a really good selling point here. And also that all the other teachers that were coming were my age, and we were young. We were 18 when I came to teach, and so I wasn't much older than my students. But yeah, it was. I think the drawing point was, the community, and then the others that were coming to teach here also were, we were all the same age, so, yeah. Oh, probably some favorite memories was living at Sadie's with the other teachers. I'll admit, had a good time, probably too good. And so we did have a good time together, and used to go over in the evenings. You didn't have, in school at that time, you didn't have helpers, you didn't have aides, you did everything. And so we didn't have breaks in school to work on our lesson plans, so we would come over in the evenings back to the school and work in the evenings. But it was fun because we were all in the same boat, and it wasn't work. It didn't seem like it. And so favorite memories, probably my first class that I taught was afraid of me, because thankfully somebody came and told them that this new teacher you're going to have has red hair and a temper, so you better be careful. So when I walked in the first day, everybody was just as quiet as could be. I never had a problem because everybody was afraid of me already before I got there. So, so it was kind of funny after I found that out. But the favorite memories are the teaching here, the starting teaching here, and then I think just raising our family, just all the different memories of them growing up, and all the ball games and all the different things that we did. So. Well, back then there were 2 cafes in town. There were two grocery stores. None of the other, which are not here anymore. And the libraries, I think now we have a beautiful library, and at that time there was no library. It was down the alley. We would take our students across to the library there, and it was just a little building within a building. So we used to have 2 railroads that went through, and Robbie worked at the grain elevator, so I do remember the trains going through. I also remember that they were not always on the same time, and I remember they used to park across the street. And somebody calling me and telling me one day that our oldest boy crawled under the train because he got tired of waiting, so he crawled under the train from one side to the other. So we had to have a talk, but you don't do that. And but anyway, the trains were quite busy here. I mean, but no schedules, just, yeah. So it was kind of disappointing when they took the tracks out and everything, because they were important to the elevator, but the elevators here were not big enough. They had to have so many train cars to fill, and they got to the point where they couldn't do that anymore, so they went to trucks, and then eventually lost the tracks. The one elevator, when Jerry and the Biggert family bought the elevator here after Deb Witt retired, and then the other elevator was run by Larry Logan, and then he retired, and they asked Robbie to run that elevator. And Jerry also wanted him to work at the other elevator, so he was enticed to work for Jerry, so he did not work there, but and then it just kind of we didn't have a very big part of the elevator as far as our ownership, but Robbie did not want to do the boss. He liked working there, and it was a dirty job, and but he worked there for almost 40 some years, I think. So yeah, it's and it's continued to grow. I mean, then Bill took it over after Jerry retired. So yeah. Getting married here and staying here, yeah, and just never had any. It's interesting because every place I went, I was so young. I like 16 when I got out of high school and went to college, and I was homesick every place that I went. I was too young, but when I came to Shickley, that was the first time I felt like I was home, and it's actually the first time I was not homesick. And so coming here was, and then of course meeting Robbie here was, of course, the reason I stayed. But yeah, we're raising our family here. Yeah, in fact, we were just talking the other day with some people that, it's such a nice, peaceful, safe town that we had no qualms our kids walking to school. They used to have paper routes. They rode, did that for several years, and I think it's just so friendly. You just feel like you're at home, and so I'm thankful for the time that we raised our children here, and they got a good education. I think the Shickley School, I can't say enough about the Shickley School and the teachers that have been there, and it's just been, they all got a wonderful education. And when you tell, and they go to someplace else, they'll say, well, how many do you have in your class? Well, maybe I had 12, and then sometimes though that they had 20 some kids in their classes. We had some big classes at that time, but not compared to the other schools, But, and then you think about where they've gone, I think there's so many kids, you think, well, you're in a small school, you probably didn't do too much well. And I don't want it to sound like it's bragging, but we've had kids work for Eli Lilly out in Indianapolis, became a scientist, and another one that's a professor of economics. Teachers, we've got a couple teachers in the family, and another one, and they've all had that opportunity. They had an opportunity because they got, the teachers here gave them a good education, and then where they went from here, they went to other colleges, and when they say, well, you should put money away for your kids to go to school, well, we couldn't do that because we just didn't have that kind of money. And so we told them, we said, okay, if you want to go to college, you're going to have to work in school. You're going to have to get scholarships, otherwise we can't afford to send you. And so that was an incentive for them. And they always say if you start the first one off right, the others will follow. And that's what happened. The first one did get good scholarships, the next one, and so on. But it's just because of the education they got here. And so, yeah, it's just been fun to raise them here. Have the ball games right across the street from us. That was fun. Our entertainment was the ball games. That's what we did, and our kids were close together, so our entertainment was we played cards a lot. They played games a lot. That was our entertainment. I mean, we just we didn't go outside of town too much. I think what I've seen change the most is it used to be the families were all grew up in this area. Now we've got families that move in and out, and you never used to see that. You always had the same families that came through in the schools, and you don't see that so much anymore. I mean, we still have some, but not like it used to be. It used to be such a big farming community that people stayed because of the farms, and now we don't have that. And I think that's what I've seen change most. So. Oh, I have, yes. Especially now with the Community Foundation. That is just something tremendous that the Shickley community has done. And in fact, somebody was talking the other day about their small communities, and I said, you need to come to Shickley, and you need to talk to somebody that's part of the Community Foundation, because it's helped this town to grow. And they've done so many good things. And yeah, I have no qualms about sharing. And I think another thing that struck me when I came here was a small community. I think we had 4 or 5 churches in this community, you know. And at first there was no connection between the churches. The Catholic Church was on the north, the Mennonite Church was on the south, and then something in between, but you didn't go back and forth then. And eventually that changed, because I think because of the kids in school, because of being in the different churches, they all got together. I mean, it wasn't, and eventually we did, and now of course we have our Lenten services where the churches get together, and that's something special for a community. You don't see that anyplace else, and that's been special. And I think the churches have learned to come to appreciate each other, even though there's differences. There's a lot the same. I think it is a good place. I haven't always done that. I didn't really get started going for coffee for a long time. I always thought I had to be too busy. I didn't have time to go down and do that. But once I started, you know, and of course, in a small town again, you know everybody. But it's just nice to be able just to sit and visit, and it's not a gossip section, or, you know, it really isn't. They just more or less talk about themselves, and we just, you know, just can visit with each other, and yeah, it's just after the cafe closed, the cafe used to be the gathering place, and for the guys and the gals also. So I think it's been important. I think it's just a nice place for them to get together and just visit, you know, because otherwise, some of those you wouldn't see anyplace else. I mean, because you just, or again, different churches or different gatherings and that, so, yeah. Everybody has been so helpful. And I've realized that, I think, more since I've been by myself, and finding out that everybody around is it's just Shickley. It's just, if I could tell anybody, you know, there's no place else I would rather be. And but it's because of all of the people here. And I don't know if there's just one person I could pick out. Everybody is just super. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if there's just one person that I can pick out. So. What I hope to see is this school stays here. And I hope that, I think the superintendent that foresaw the preschool and getting that started and the daycare was one of the things that has really made a difference for our school. And I'd like to see our school stay, I know we're small, but I think it's important. The education is good, and you talk about one-on-one, you've got a lot of that, and you get teachers that care about the students, and you get into a big school, and the students sometimes are lost. I mean, you can have a student that's struggling, and they have a number, they don't have a name. And so I think if we can keep our small school, and I think with this community foundation too, has helped things, has helped our community to grow, and we see a lot of young people coming back, and that is so important, and they're active. I mean, they come back and they're active in the community, and I hope that continues. I like to see that, so. I'd like to tell the young people to don't look too far ahead. Take a day at a time, because it's going to go fast. And I remember somebody telling me that when my children were little, and there was a grocery store, a cafe over here. We were sitting there, and this lady said, "Enjoy your children, because you don't realize how fast they're going to grow up." And I think about that, and I look around, and anything I could tell people, enjoy your family, enjoy the people around you, because it's going to go fast, and take a day at a time and enjoy it. So.